Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Dear viewers, welcome to all of you in my new lecture. Today we are going to be start lecture number 29. So in this lecture also we will try to discuss about the welding imperfection and acceptable criteria as per BSE and ISO 5817-2014. Previously I have recorded lecture number 28. That lecture also we discuss about the welding imperfection and acceptable criteria. So this lecture I given name the part 2 for your easy to understand. So in this lecture we will directly discuss about the welding imperfection and what is the acceptable criteria. This is accept or reject. So before we are starting the lecture, I will request to all of you, please subscribe my YouTube channel if you still didn't subscribe my YouTube channel to get the all update lecture, and don't forget to share with your friends if you think this lecture is useful for them also. Okay, let's start today lecture. So today we will directly go through the code book. We'll start from uh, surface imperfection. So this is the table 1, limit of imperfection. So from beginning we will start. So we will try to learn slowly. Okay, so I explained you some few things here. See the defect serial number, then reference to ISO 6520-1. So basically ISO 6520-1, that code book try to define the imperfection, what type of imperfection and what is the definition of the imperfection. So before I start that this lecture, I will show you some reference to ISO 65201. So for example, one is the surface imperfection. Here given the some code number is here. Here is the 100, then 107. So 100 they mention the imperfection designation. So what type of imperfection? So this is the crack. So I show the code book 6520-1 for easy to understand. Then we will start our lecture. So BSE and ISO 6520-1 2007 version I take here. If we go through this code book, then we see what is the title of this code book: welding and allied process, classification of geometry imperfection in metallic material, welding. The code title, then see defects. So basically I try to show what is the reference taken from. So we see here the table 1, classification of imperfection. So this is the 65 from 6520. We can see here is the 100. So this 100 means is the crack. So this is the designation and explanation. This is the English version, Francis and Dutch. Group 1 is crack. So what is the crack? Crack is the imperfection produced by a local rupture in the solid state, which can arise from the effect of cold or stress. So from here they taking the code 100. This is the designation, and designation of the imperfection is the crack. So these the things try to refer other code. I show you here, then you have to understand. So we can see here the reference to ISO 6520. Here the surface and 100. This is the crack. So I think you are clear about that, about this. What is the mean of reference to ISO 6520-1? So this is the things. So in ISO 6520-1, they are try to define what is the imperfection and what is the definition of the imperfection. So I think this is the clear. So let's start today's lecture. So first of all, here discuss about the surface imperfection. So what is the surface imperfection? So surface imperfection is, or whatever we can see in surface by visually. So 1.1 100 crack. So if we found some crack in welding joint, what is the acceptable criteria? So we can see here the thick T is the thickness of the material. So what is the thickness of material, and all the dimension and showing is here is mm. So for crack greater than or equal, we need to see the here what is the calling here greater than or equal 0.5 mm. If our material thickness is greater than or equal 0.5 mm, then for crack, what is the limit for imperfection for quality levels? So what is the quality level? I will discuss in my previous lecture number 27. If you miss out my lecture, please watch my lecture. I don't want to discuss again the same things is here. So this is the quality level D, C and B. So we already previous lecture we already discussed about that. So B is the higher requirement, C is the middle requirement, and D is the normal. So if we found crack, so if we found anytime is crack, so for all the quality level, this is the not permitted. So crack we cannot accept. So this for all is the same. So not permitted, not permitted, not permitted. So second is the crater crack. So we already know what is the crater crack. So if we found in welding joint is the crater crack, what is the acceptable criteria? These things also same, thickness greater than or equal 0.5 mm. Then for all the level of quality level is not permitted. So I think this is clear. Then 1.3 is the surface pore. So if we found any surface pore in welding joint, so what is the acceptable criteria? So in remarks we can see maximum dimension of a single pore for butt-welds and fillet welds. So maximum dimension of a single pore for butt-welds and fillet welds. Then maximum dimension of a single pore for butt-weld and fillet welds. We can see here showing the two different thickness below. So if the thickness is 0.523 mm, if the thickness value, I repeat it again, if the thickness value is 0.523 mm, then for quality level B is not permitted, quality level C is not permitted, but quality level D they allow something is the single pore for D is less than or equal 0.3 S or D less than or equal 0.3 A. So this is the things. Then the maximum dimension of a single pore for butt-weld and fillet welds, if the thickness is greater than 3 mm, then this is the acceptable criteria. For level B there is no not permitted, and for the level C, D is less than or equal 0.2 S but maximum 2 mm. D is less than or equal 0.2 A but maximum 2 m. So this is the thing same. So D is for level D is less than or equal 0.3 S but maximum 3 mm. D is less than or equal 3 A but maximum 3 mm. So this is the things we need to know. Then for the another defects is in crater pipe. In crater pipe we can see this what is the acceptable value. When we get the in crater pipe, then thickness 0.52 T or greater than 3 mm. So this is the thickness limit. So for crater pipe we need to consider the height, how much height is the acceptable. So height for the for these things also for level B is not permitted. So this is the higher requirements not permitted. For level C, if thickness 0.523 then not permitted, But if thickness is more than 3 mm, then it is permit allowed but very less. Height should not height will be the maximum less than or equal 0.1 t. So these things we need to calculate, but maximum 1 mm. So this is the allowable range but cannot be exceed 1 mm. Okay, then for quality level D, height is less than or equal 0.2 into t if the thickness is 0.523 mm, and if thickness is greater than 3 mm, then for quality level D, its acceptable criteria will be height h less than or equal 0.2 into t, but maximum 2 mm, so cannot be exceed maximum 2 mm. So this is for the crater pipe. Then we move to the another defects, lack of fusion or incomplete fusion. So for lack of fusion or incomplete fusion greater than or equal 0.5 mm thickness for all the quality level is not permitted. So this all the not permitted. Micro lack of fusion, if we find the micro lack of fusion only detectable by micro examination. If we can detect only by micro examination but visually by eye you cannot see, so in that time if the thickness is greater than or equal 0.5 mm, that time for level B is not permitted, but level C and D is permitted. Another welding defect is incomplete root penetration. If we find the root penetration is incomplete, so we see this is the thickness T and this is the height. So only for single side butt welds, these defects only for single side butt welds greater than or equal 0.5 mm thickness material. If the quality level is B, then not permitted. Quality level C also not permitted. But if we follow the quality level D, that time is permitted, but short imperfection height less than or equal 0.2 into t, but maximum 2 mm. So it can be height less than or equal 0.2 into t means thickness, but cannot be more than 2 mm. So this is the maximum value is 2 mm. Next we go through the continuous undercut. If we find any continuous undercut, so it is requirement remarks is requirement smooth transition is required. This is not regarded as a systematic imperfection. So if we find the continuous undercut and intermediate undercut, so for this continuous undercut, so if the material thickness is 0.5 to 3 mm, then for quality level B not permitted. Quality level C short imperfection can be height less than or equal 0.1 t. If quality level D we follow short imperfection height less than or equal 0.2 into t. So we can see from here we easily understand B is the higher requirement, C is the medium, and D is the compared to B and C is the normal. Then for intermediate undercut less than greater than 3 mm, so for quality level B height less than or equal 0.05 t, but maximum 0.5 mm. So if we follow the quality level B, so undercut can be maximum 0.5 mm, but we do the maximum is the 0.5 mm. So if we follow the quality level C, so height will be the less than or equal 0.1 t, but maximum is 0.5 mm. Then if height if we follow the quality level D, that time will be height less than or equal 0.2 t, but maximum is 1 mm. So this is for the continuous undercut and intermediate undercut. So another welding defect is shrinkage group. So these defects come from roadside after welding. These when weld is become a cold, that time become a shrinkage in roadside. So this is the shrinkage group. So for shrinkage group, what is the acceptable criteria? So here is requirement that the smooth transition is required. We need to do the smooth transition. So how much is height is allowed? So if with our parent material is 0.5 to 3 mm, for quality level B it not permitted. Short imperfection for quality level C, height less than or equal 0.1 t, and short imperfection, height less than or equal 0.2 mm plus 0.1 t for quality level D. So if height is the greater than thickness is the greater than 3 mm, then for quality level B the short imperfection is less than or equal 0.05 t but maximum 0.5 mm. For quality level B, short imperfection should be height less than or equal 0.1 t but maximum 1 mm. So for quality level D, short imperfection, height less than or equal 0.2 t but maximum is 2 mm. So these are the things we have to know how we need to interpret it with code and standards. Another defect is the excess weld metal butt weld. So when we are going to be weld, but here is the excess weld metal. So in that case, recommended is the smooth transition is required. So height will be how much? So these are the things we need to identified by this point. So if the material thickness is greater than or equal 0.5 mm, then for quality level B, height less than or equal 1 mm plus 0.1 b, but maximum is 5 mm. So should not be exceed 5 mm. So if we need to we follow the quality level C, then height less than or equal 1 mm plus 0.15 into b. B is the breadth of the weld, but maximum is 7 mm. For quality level D, height is the less than or equal 1 mm plus 0.25 b, but maximum is 10 mm. So another welding defect is excessive convexity. So these things happen for the fillet welds. When we do the fillet welds, then we see the excessive convexity. So this is the convexity excessive. So if the thickness is greater than or equal 0.5 mm, in that case, if we follow the quality level B, that time we need to follow height less than or equal 1 mm plus 0.1 b, but maximum 3 mm only. Then for quality level C, height less than or equal 1 mm plus 0.15 b, but maximum is the 4 mm. For quality level D, height is less than or equal 1 mm plus 0.25 b, but maximum is 5 mm. So these are the things we have to know how we need to refer to our code book and standards. So another thing is excess penetration. So during welding time, the penetration is the excess. So how much excessive penetration is acceptable? This the things is here discussed. So B is the penetration breadth and height. H is the height. So if our parent metal thickness is 0.5 to 3 mm, then height will be for quality level B, height less than or equal 1 mm plus 0.1 b. Then for quality level C, height less than or equal 1 mm plus 0.3 b. So for quality level D, height less than or equal 1 mm plus 0.6 b. So if the thickness is 3 mm, greater than 3 mm, then what is the acceptable criteria? So for quality level D, height is less than or equal 1 mm plus 1.0 b, but maximum 5 mm. For quality level C, height is less than or equal 1 mm plus 0.6 b, but maximum is 4 mm. So for quality level B, height is less than or equal 1 mm plus 0.2 b, but maximum is 3 mm. So these the things is the for acceptable criteria for excess penetration. So today we discuss already the so many welding defects. So I want to close today lecture is here. So from next lecture we will continue and go through this good book. So please don't forget to subscribe and share my uh, videos. So today I want to close this lecture. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.